So you might want to have a bath towel today, or your blanket.
Okay.
Nice throw blanket will come in handy. A bigger pillow off the bed, or bolsters if you have them to support your knees. Smaller back of the head. We're going to continue with some of our shoulder work too, stretching and opening through the shoulders and the chest. So if you have a yoga strap, that would be great. If you do not have a strap, you can use a scarf or your bath towel rolled up, just something that you can use to do some of these bigger stretches that we'll get to towards the end of class today. And then what else? A chair, if you like to sit in a chair when we do some of our seated postures and we do our spinal movements, you can always sit in a chair. Or if you have a yoga block and some type of cushion, you can also use those type of things. So good, your goodies as we allow people to chime in. I have a little cat that visits me. It's not my cat. And she's here today. Can you see her?
Oh, yeah.
I feed her though.
I was going to say she wants in.
Well, I do open the door and she won't come in. She won't come near me. I think she's a feral
really?
cat.
Yeah, she must
She
be.
does cry to me though. We have a little routine. She comes for her breakfast and she'll sit out there and cry. But as soon as I even get within like 2 or 3 feet of her, she's out of there. She's definitely gotten more comfortable, obviously. Now she's walking back out into the yard. But she's been keeping me company.
Wow.
She's my little pandemic pet that has come into my life.
You can call her Pandora.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I had nicknamed, I think it's a little girl. I had nicknamed him El Bandito de la Noche because I would leave little food out at night and it'd be gone in the morning. And so I was like, I think the cat's eating, this cat that roams the neighborhood is eating it. But now I'm pretty sure it's a girl. And her name might be Lola, and she might belong to one of my neighbors. Because I did post her on Nextdoor if anybody was missing a cat. And somebody said, yeah, that's Lola. I'm surprised she's that far away, but I don't know. Cats have their own lives. And the mystery might never be solved, but she does like hanging out with me on my deck. So
if Lola's not spayed, you may have kittens.
Well, I was wondering, but I thought, well, if she continues to stick around and I can ever get close to her, I would definitely take her to a vet, but we're not quite there yet. And I don't want her to get me. She looks really healthy though. She's clean and she looks like she's healthy. So she might just be using me for my kibbles.
She might, yes.
So she seems like she's in a good place. Awesome. Good morning.
As long as you don't end up with kittens.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if there's a way to, I can't get close enough to her anyway, so.
Well, my husband and I rescued one, or she rescued us when we lived.
Uh-huh. Oh, I heard you, and then you went away.
Hi, Joanna.
Hi.
How you
Is
doing?
that Karen?
Yeah.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Good to have you this morning. I'm going to give it just another minute in case we have more people chiming in. So while we're all kind of getting our setups ready, get all your goodies and your props.
Let me, yeah.
Awesome. So we'll be doing a little bit more work with the shoulder area and the chest, stretching that out like we have been in my classes. And then I had a suggestion to focus a little bit more on the core area So we'll incorporate some movements and postures and breath work that can kind of help wake up those muscles today as well. Good to see everybody. Morning, morning, morning. Still have some
Joanne?
people tuning in. Yeah.
I have a question. When we're doing our supported bridge pose, I do have 2 yoga blocks. Can I use those instead of the rolled towel?
Oh, yeah. If you want to take it up, like go a little bit further, absolutely. So if you have the 2 yoga blocks, you know how to set them up in the T shape.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Right.
one block will go vertically into your upper back, and then the other block for back of the head.
Right.
Absolutely. That will just give you even more of a lift and more of a stretch for the shoulders. So
Right.
if you have those type of props at home, that would be great. Yeah, absolutely. That will give you a bigger stretch. And you could probably do something like that with 2 books. If you only had 1 yoga block, for example, I have these bigger books. Now I probably need 2 of these, but I could take my 1 yoga block I have, so it goes on its narrow setting, like so, and then I would definitely need another book, or I'll take my little towel here and support that. So if you do have the option with 1 block and then some extra support with towels or books for behind the head, or both blocks, that's fine too. And when you come down, same thing, where we've been using the rolled blanket to hit us right at the tip of the shoulder blades, you would release here. And that is going to give you a much bigger lift through the chest and the heart. And same with the legs, you could reposition them accordingly. So that's always an option. All right, so welcome everybody. We just want to say that we really continue to do our best to keep connected with our yoga classes. So thanks to all the behind the scenes work that's been going on with both Jonathan and Adith and you guys chiming in. We really appreciate it. And remember, you can share the links and the website with friends and family all over the world and the country. So I know I've been connecting with my family a lot more via Skype and doing activities like that. So our yoga classes could also be an option to bring people in from around the world so we can all practice some yoga together today or another day. All right, so I'm gonna mute some mics, or we wanna mute our mics just so that doesn't affect our class audio here. And then we'll get started. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, good. So do gather up your goodies as usual. Just make sure you take care of yourself this morning. Make your modifications and adjustments as you like. We will start with that elevated supported fish pose. So like I said, if you already have your blocks and your book set up and you're where you want to be, great. If you're not sure, what we've been doing is taking a throw blanket and having it in a rectangular fold or a nice big beach towel. And then we're just rolling it up to create this rolled effect. And that will go towards the back of your mat. And we do want the shoulders, if you're on the roll, your shoulders and head will roll back to the ground. So your shoulders and your upper arm bone should be on top of the roll on the ground. So it's just really lifting up the rim of the shoulder blades from behind. And you will feel that stretch through the chest and the heart. And then you can cactus those arms, bending your elbows to 90, backs of the hands flow to the floor. So if you're on your blocks, your arms can just be down more beside you in a Shavasana. And then we'll want to bring our legs into a comfortable position as well. So once you've situated your upper back here, lots of options for the legs. So my low back people, I like to tuck a pillow sometimes behind the crease of my knees, plant my feet to the floor and let my knees drop together. And that will help take pressure out of the low back. If you want to add our hip opener here, Baddha Konasana, draw the soles of the feet to touch, the knees are falling open. So you're getting a heart opener and a hip opener. Or simply extend and stretch your legs out into Shavasana legs so that they're flopping open on the ground. And we'll all give ourselves a moment here to adjust our clothing, move those ponytails out of the way, readjust yourself with your props. Really trying to get ourselves in the most comfortable place that we can be today. And once we find that comfortable place, we'll close the eyes and start to redirect our attention inward this morning. And just feel the weight of the body start to relax here on the ground. Letting go of any tension or tightness you might have or discover. We'll scan the whole body. So starting from the crown of the head and working all the way down to our fingertips and toes, we'll continue to relax the muscles of the body, especially all the little muscles across the face. Poof those cheeks up with air, wiggle out the mouth, the tongue, and the jaw. Feel the weight of the arms flopping to the ground. If you're in cactus arms and those hands don't easily touch the ground, usually due to just tightness through the front of the chest and shoulders, so gravity can continue to traction out the weight of the hands or just place more support underneath the hands. This pose helps improve our breathing, stretching those muscles around the rib cage, our intercostal muscles. It also helps counter all the forward folding and rounding we do. So really just allow that expansion to continue to stretch through the chest, the sternum, the ribs. Try to relax the belly as much as possible and all the way down the back of the body. And then also let the weight of the legs just flop towards the ground. All the way down to those feet, relax the toes. And as usual, as we're connecting to our body today, if we discover areas that maybe we'll need a little extra TLC today, let's pause on those areas for a moment. Send a nice healing breath into them. And on the exhale, we let those areas relax. Remembering that we bring in elements of ahimsa or non-violence to our bodies and ourselves. We can also practice santosha, which means contentment. So being content where, who, and what we are in this moment. Continue to let the whole body relax as we spread our awareness to the rhythm of the breath. Simply observe the body breathe in and observe and watch the body breathe out. Breathe as smoothly and evenly as possible in and out through the nose. Observe any natural movement and sound of your breath with your body. And we'll begin to notice that the body, even if just very subtly, it naturally expands as it fills itself up with fresh air, prana, and energy. And the body naturally contracts as it exhales away and empties out that stale old air and energy. So as I mentioned, we're targeting a little bit more around the abdominal muscles today. So let's start to focus our concentration a little bit more on the belly. Continue to breathe at a rate that's comfortable for you. And on our next inhale, try to let your abdominal muscles relax and expand and let the belly poof up like a balloon. And on our next exhale, gently contract the abdominal muscles. So you're drawing the navel in towards the spine. On our inhale, we relax those muscles, let the belly expand. On the exhale, gentle contraction, drawing the belly back in towards the body. Abdominal breathing, very soothing and calming for our nervous system. It is also just a nice way to gently work those muscles so that we can become more in tune with that area of our body. And we're actually working with our diaphragm here. So abdominal breathing helps us use our diaphragm to really take big, full breaths all the way down into the deeper parts of our lungs. Let's all try to take one more round of breath here. And this can be our biggest breath of our morning yet. So on our next inhale, really expand and inflate the whole body. Fill yourself up as much as you can, all the way to the brim. And the exhale is just as important. So on our next exhale, when we breathe out, we're going to empty, empty, empty every last drop. And I want you to squeeze that breath out like you're taking a tube of toothpaste and trying to get the last bit out. Exhale every drop. At the bottom of that exhale, let go of trying to follow or control the breath for a moment. It will naturally go wherever it wants. Start to feel the whole body again, relaxed out on the floor. And then we'll gently wake our bodies back up, wiggling the toes, the fingertips, a gentle rock of the head side to side. If your knees are open in Baddha Konasana, float your knees up and let's all try to extend our legs straight out on our mat. And then just slide. If you're on your blocks and fish pose, you'll have to make your modification. You could stay there and just stretch your arms more gently. Those of us on the floor on the roll, you can just slide your arms overhead. So we're moving into our long body stretch here on our props if we have them. So you're spreading your fingers and toes. You can point and flex your feet a couple times. Give your right side a little bit longer of a stretch. Give your left side a little bit longer of a stretch. And one more big breath in to stretch everything out. On the exhale, we'll walk our feet in. Again, depending where you are with your props, you can draw your knees in and roll to your right-hand side for a moment and Supta Balasana. And then we'll press down into the ground and we're going to come back onto our backs, but we're going to slide our props that we are using out of the way. And then we'll lie flat back down to the floor. So you'll readjust and realign yourself. We'll go right into our flowing bridge pose. So walk your heels towards your sit bones, parallel your feet, a few inches between your knees and your feet for your alignment. If you have a yoga block, place it between your inner thighs. Draw your shoulder blades under, your head is in neutral position, your arms are down beside you, nice and strong. So this pose will start to strengthen and tone the back of the body. So squeeze your glutes, press through the feet and the backs of the arms, start to float your hips up to the ceiling. And on our exhales, we'll lower the hips back down. So we're flowing in and out of bridge pose so that we can give these front muscles a nice stretch, open up the front of the hips now. And like I said, the core wraps all the way around our body. There's different ways to think about the core. And bridge pose helps strengthen that back side. Sometimes we just only focus on the front abdominals, but the transverse abdominal muscles wrap all the way around us. And it's important to strengthen the quadratus laborum muscles that act like two pillars down the back of the body, as well as the iliopsoas on the front body. Now, those of us that want that shoulder massage on your inhales, lift your arms up to the ceiling and all the way overhead, remembering that the weight moves into the meaty part of the shoulders, not the neck. And when you lower your hips down, your arms float back down. So engaging and squeezing to lift. Chest can even move towards the chin, but keep the natural curve in your neck. And let's all flow through one more. As these muscles started to strengthen and stretch, maybe we go a little bit higher. And we'll meet on our next exhale with the hips and the arms back down to the ground. Remove your prop. Draw that low belly in to draw your knees in. Give your back a little massage here. Just rocking side to side. Take your hands behind your thighs. Extend the legs up to our waterfall pose, our inversion. Point and flex your feet a couple times. Feel free to vigorously rub on those hamstring muscles back there, especially first thing in the morning if you haven't done much moving. They'll be a little tighter. And then let's all take a hold of the meaty part of those thighs behind us and draw your thigh bones forward into your hands. So now I'm using a lot more muscular energy here to try to straighten my legs up. We can flex those feet so that the heels are reaching up towards the ceiling, pulling your toes to your shin bones. We're gonna turn this into even more of an abdominal work pose here. Bring your arms back down beside you, palms down. Try to keep your thigh bones vertical, so perpendicular to the floor, and you're pulling your low belly in. So this is using those strong muscles just to hold your legs up in the air. I know this is a lot of effort. So your modification would be to bend your knees, shins floating parallel to the floor. You still want to try to keep your thigh bones straight up and down. And we got to breathe. There's a tendency to want to hold our breath when we're using our abdominals because we're not belly breathing now. You're breathing more thoracically around the rib cage. Take one more breath in. Really straighten up those legs. Engage the quads, the front of the thighs, so the backs can lengthen. And on our exhale, let's take a quick break. Hug your knees in, rock side to side. So we're gonna do some yogi sit-ups today. I'll give you a couple options. Arms down beside you. If you wanna slide your hands underneath the lower buttocks, that can kind of create a well for your low back to stay grounded. My low back people like me, we really have to be mindful. We don't want the back to hyperextend up off the floor. It can be in more of its natural curves. Draw your knees back in and re-extend the legs up to the ceiling, maybe pointing to the toes at this point. On our inhale, we'll lower our right leg away from us. The degree that you lower that leg will depend on your back. So you might bring it all the way down towards the floor as long as you can maintain the structure of the low back. On the exhale, slowly pull it back up. No swinging those legs. Don't use momentum, use your muscles. Inhale, left leg lowers, ideally to the same degree that you lowered the first side. If it doesn't go there, then readjust when you get back to your first side. The exhale pulls the leg slowly back up. So we're gonna keep going. These are single leg lifts, sometimes called yogi sit-ups. They strengthen those abdominal muscles, and that's important for our spinal health. And I want you to move smoothly, evenly, with a lot of precision and control. And we're actually trying to create a little bit of fire or agni in our belly. So if you start to feel a little burning sensation, it's not painful, that's okay. The other trick is don't use your face and your jaw to do this work. So smile a little bit. And I want us to try to do one more on each side. So you'll do one more to your right side. Nice, strong, powerful breath. One more on your left side. And then we'll take a quick break. So draw your knees back in, relax the belly, rock side to side. We're gonna do one more round of our yogi sit-ups today. I'll give you a secondary option. Oh, I'm sorry, I should tell you too, if you wanna modify more, bend your knees back to 90 degrees and you can just touch one big toe to the ground, lift that leg back up, and then touch the other toe to the ground. So that's another good modification. Or re-extend those legs. Now you can continue with singles, or those of us that want a little bit more, you're gonna glue your legs together nice and strong, pretend you're wrapping rubber bands around your legs. And on the inhale, you'll lower both of your legs away from you. Now you might not be able to go as far as you did with the single leg lifts. This will put more pressure on the low back. So it's really important that you're being mindful of how that translates for your body. The inhale lowers, the exhale slowly pulls you up. You can just create more resistance by pretending like you're moving through thick mud and building up that fire in our belly. So this pose is really good for our digestion as well. But remember, if you get any sharp shooting pain or discomfort, or it's taking too much for your low back, then you need to modify. Let's all try to do two more. So if you're doing your single leg lifts, give me one more on each side. If your legs are zipped up together, two more. And after that last one, take a quick break. Hug your knees and rock it side to side. Re-extend those legs up to the ceiling. Let's take Supta Konasana. Open the legs nice and wide. Supporting the weight of the legs with your hands from the outside, elbows to the ground. Roll your ankles a few times. Deeper stretch, hands move to the inside, massage those muscles. The more you try to extend your heels away from you and opening up the backs of those knees, the more that will intensify the stretch. Give me a big breath in. Exhale, squeeze those legs back to waterfall. Bend the knees, float the nose up to the knees to stretch out the upper back a little bit here. And then relax the head down, bring your right arm down beside the head, rolling over to our right and pausing and sleeping baby pose. So just take your fetal position here, rest the head on the arm. Important to let our blood pressure regulate a little bit as well. And then bring the left hand to the floor, press down, look down, and bring our bodies up. All right, so we should already feel those muscles starting to work a little bit. We're gonna take our seated position. We'll flow through our spinal movements today. Make sure we get those in for our day. So sit up nice and tall. Use your prop under your sit bones or sit towards the edge of your chair, sofa, whatever you're using if you want to take the legs out of the equation. Sukhasana, your easy cross pose. Siddhasana, heel to heel. I do want you to really be nice and firm on both sit bones. And again, just sitting on the floor or even a chair, take some abdominal work. If I wasn't really lifting and engaging, I'd be slumped and slouching. So I'm really putting effort here around my whole waist and lifting, lengthening up through the front of my spine. But don't stress the neck, let your head float. Extend your arms up from your shoulders, turn those palms up. Let's all take a big breath in and just reach your arms up. Stretch everything up. Palms turn back out. Exhale, reach your fingertips back towards the floor. Seated triangle pose. Inhale, right arm up. Keep that low belly engaged. And as you exhale, we'll lean over to our left, stretching the whole right side. Now use your muscles. Inhale, contract the right side to come up. Exhale over to your right to stretch the left. You're moving in a lateral plane. Use those muscles to inhale back up. Keep going side to side. Feel that stretch through the waist, the rib cage, and the shoulder. We can change our drishti to look upwards to try at least change the stretch. You can also look down to your bottom hand to change the stretch a little bit. Let's move one more time to each side. Sit bones are rooted. You can start thinking about those lower bandhas. Mula Bandha root lock is that lifting and engagement of the pelvic floor muscles. Uddiyana Bandha is the lower abdominals lifting in and up. After you finish your right side, we'll meet back to center, both arms up. Bring your palms to touch and exhale to your center. So those of us cross-legged, switch up that cross, reestablish, nice posture. Interweave all 10 fingers. Seated cat-cow, purposeful rounding of the back to stretch out our muscles. So you'll flip your palms forward, draw that belly in, the chin can drop down. Inhale, you rock back to the front of your sit bones. You really lift up through the chest, drawing your arm bones back to stretch out the chest. Follow your breath. Exhale, tucking and rounding into our flexion. And nice big inhales here to stretch out those shoulders and sit up as tall as you can. Gently arch the low back. Let's take one more here. We'll meet on our inhale, floating everything up, up, up. Open those hands up, our active twist. So again, I want you using your muscles. So contract your right side to twist to your right. Fingertips can reach to the opposite knee and behind you. Take the head and the eyes behind you as well. Peek over that back shoulder. Inhale, bring yourself back up to center. Exhale, you're rotating across the axis of the spine. So your spine stays nice and long and tall, rotating through the vertebra. Inhale, reach up. Let's take it one more time to the right, rolling through those shoulders, gently through the head, the neck, and the eyes. Inhale up. And one more time, bring everything out. Keep your shoulders and chin parallel to the floor. And a big breath in to reach back up to center. Palms touch. Exhale to center. So we'll make our transition to tabletop now. However you want to get there. Your legs need a quick wiggle. Adding extra cushion for the knees and the shins. Spread those fingers nice and wide. Your hands have to be as broad as your shoulders, so you have a nice wide foundation. Press into the ground, use some of your muscles. Little space between your knees and your feet again. And you are drawing into that low belly a little bit. Your spine is in neutral, so if you take your gaze slightly forward, that will remind you to keep your head up. Now keeping those hips nice and level, stretch your right foot back. The foot is to the floor and you're pressing your right heel towards the ground to intensify the stretch. Those of us that want to add that strengthening element, I'm going to move into a runner's plank pose. So I'm going to squeeze to lift my left knee and foot from the floor. So I'm using my abdominals to pull that leg in and pushing into the ground equally with both hands and simultaneously still stretching out the back of my right leg. Take a big breath in. Exhale, tabletop. Not a big shift in those hips. Keep your hips nice and level. Give your left foot a stretch back behind you, pressing that heel towards the floor. A little bit stronger version of the pose. Squeeze to lift your right knee and foot from the floor. Keep the weight equal in both hands, pressing up to those first knuckles to distribute the weight. Mind your head. Big breath in. Exhale, knees come back down, tabletop. Fingertips, Hasta Bandha, rounding through the knuckles and driving your fingertips to the floor, or a strong punching fist in the floor. Options for your wrists. Flow through a couple cat-cows with your breath. Inhaling takes us into our gentle back bend. You keep the spine long as it extends. And the exhale, scoop, tucks, and rounds the back up towards the ceiling. So try to feel a little bit of movement in the pelvis, really rolling that breath up and down the spine, maybe a little bit of movement in your shoulders, head and neck, whatever feels best for your body today. We'll come back to neutral once we balance ourselves out, and let's come off our hands for a moment into our child's pose. Any version you'd like. Wide knee child's pose can take us a little deeper. So you open your knees wider than your hips, touch the toes behind you, sinking your hips to your heels. Hands can stay nice and wide, even maybe off the yoga mat if you have a lot of tension in the neck and shoulders. And then you're melting your belly, your heart, and your head to the floor. Those of you whose heads don't easily touch the ground, either fold your arms under your forehead, stack your fists, or place a prop. Those of you that don't put pressure on your knees in this pose, roll up your blanket or towel and place it behind the creases of your knees, or just keep your hips elevated and rest down on your forearms. And we'll take a couple more nice deep breaths here. So breathe into the back of the body. We're giving our lumbar, low back a nice big stretch, a stretch in the hips, possibly the shoulders if we're keeping our arms extended. And then next inhale, we'll float the head up and we'll bring the body back up. So you'll have to readjust yourself so you're back in this tabletop position. We'll walk our hands 1 hand's distance forward on our mat about so the arms are more at an angle. Tuck the toes under, draw that low belly in, and we'll press up and back, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. So take a moment to walk your dog, bending 1 knee at a time and dropping 1 heel to the ground at a time. You can also stretch out your toes and the soles of the feet that way. So, and look at your feet. Make sure they're, again, nice and symmetrical with each other. The toes should be pointing forward here. Knees always tracking towards the center of those feet. Notice the weight in your hands. Fingers should be spread nice and wide. Distribute the weight into the mound of the index fingers and thumbs as you externally rotate your upper arm bones away from your ears. Nice long neck, head is floating. This is our gentle inversion as well, so being mindful of any blood pressure or heart conditions. Your modifications are just to come back to tabletop or child's pose at any time. Great pose to do first thing in the morning, stretch everything out, get the blood flow into our brain. So let's find stillness in our pose for our breath. Whether those heels touch the ground or not doesn't really matter. Just draw your thighs back, shift that weight down and back the legs. Inhale, look forward. Bring yourself into your forward fold, walking feet to hands, hands to feet. Feet should still be parallel, toes pointing forward, knees to toes. Take a hold of opposite elbows. If you want to go deeper, straighten your legs up or modify like me, placing the weight of your arms on your thighs. You can still dangle one arm out to release that shoulder a little bit. You can gently release the head a little bit even from here. Those of you allowing the upper body to free fall, super strong feet and legs, really pulling up your quads. Those lower locks or bandhas will help. So remember your pelvic floor muscles. You can be working those, lifting them in and up. Low belly is pulling in nice and strong to support that back. Inhale, strengthening our back with our halfway lift. So hands to shins or higher. Lift your chest, squeeze and kiss your shoulder blades onto your back. Try to really iron out the whole back. Gaze just slightly forward. As you exhale, you'll go back to your fold. Inhale, halfway lift, squeeze and strengthen the back. Those of you that want more, float your arms beside your torso, reaching your fingertips back. The exhale brings you back to your fold. One more. Inhale, halfway lift, squeeze, especially the upper back, strengthen and tone. Exhale, sit back into Utkatasana, floating your arms forward and up. Shrug your shoulders away from the ears, head is floating, really strong legs, and they should be nice and parallel and symmetrical to each other. Draw that low belly in. So we're going to try to hold our arms up today, unless you do have a lot of tension, neck and shoulders. Bring your hands into prayer position. Arms extended will do a little bit more effort for the core. Your choice. We're going to squeeze and lift our right foot from the floor, getting into a little bit of our balance. Bring that foot down, try to lift the left foot from the floor. Bring that foot down, try to sink a little bit further down, rooting that tailbone down. Good. On our inhale, straighten the legs and reach everything straight up into extended mountain. So I'm lifting, lengthening, very gentle back bend if you want, just by taking your eyes upwards. Turn your palms out and exhale, float those arms down. Tadasana. Extending the fingertips away from the shoulders, ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. Nice neutral pelvis, nice straight and strong legs. Take a breath in. And exhale, relax. Let's gather up our yoga strap and or scarf. I must have buried mine under my other props here. Aha. So strap or scarf or rolled towel, just anything you can get a grip with. So if you've been coming to my class, we've been working on this pose each class. It is a really nice way to stretch up the chest and the front of the shoulders, improve our shoulder mobility, but don't force anything. We never force, push, grunt ourselves into a pose. We got to practice that Sardha Sukham Asana, easy steadiness with the breath and the body. So you might want to start a wider grip, and then you can always narrow it as you start to improve the mobility in your shoulders. Don't force one shoulder to do something that it can't do, so you got to balance yourself out. The inhale floats those arms up. I have tension on my strap. And then the exhale just brings it back down. And we'll do several of these, so you'll start to get a nice feel of how that feels from right to left. You want to try to move with just smoothness and evenness here. Your legs should be in Tadasana, so they're super strong, they're active, supporting you. Those lower bandhas can still be working. You might be able to start taking the strap slightly behind you, but don't hyperextend the low back and lose your posture through your body. You really have to stay connected to this front core. And then some of us might be rolling all the way up, back, and down, if that's an option. Let's all try one more. We'll meet with the strap back down in front of us and just take a quick break. Noodle your arms, wiggle out your fingertips one at a time. We'll do our little lateral extension, so stretching the side body. So even more important to have stronger legs here. If you want to make a balance out of this pose, you can bring the insides of the feet and legs to touch. It just gives you a smaller foundation to try to maintain your balance. So nice firm grip, tension on the strap. Inhale it right overhead. We'll move in that lateral plane again. So as you exhale, lean to your right. So I'm contracting my right side to stretch my left. The inhale will pull me back up to center, and then I'll exhale over to the left. And we're gonna do this one more time to each side with the breath. We'll meet back at center, and we're gonna try to find that sweet spot wherever you feel like you're getting your biggest stretch. And we'll just pause and hold. If you feel like you're losing strength through the legs, just pick up those toes, rooting down to the mound of the big toe, inner heel, mound of pinky toe, outer heel. Unlock those knees, quads lifting, pelvic floor muscles, lower abdominals, head floating. Take one more big breath in. Ah, it feels so good. And on the exhale, we'll release. You can just put your strap out of the way, shake out your wrists, do our little noodling of the arms side to side a little bit here. Whoa, is it really that time already? I never have enough time. I wanted us to do one more balancing pose. This is a little strengthening, toning pose here as well. So what we'll do is we'll come back into Tadasana, but I want your feet to be back to parallel to each other, okay? And you might have to rearrange yourself in your space. We're gonna move into either like a standing locust pose. Some of us might tilt into a Virabhadrasana 3 or Warrior 3 pose. So your feet are parallel to each other. Bring your hands onto your hips and just step your right foot back slightly behind you. So my left leg's my strong standing leg. Again, don't hyperextend the low back. Stay connected to the front body. But we're gonna be squeezing the right buttock to lift our right leg from the floor. So all my energy and effort is really squeezing this right side to lift the leg up. I can continue to have my hands on my hips because my hips are gonna stay square. And you're gonna try to lift that leg up a little higher. The leg lifting is what tilts the pelvis. Do not round your back. Your upper body and your leg should stay in a straight line, just like a teeter-totter or a seesaw. You can extend your arms back beside you into those locust arms. Hands can come to heart, or you may extend your arms forward and up. That is a long lever. So anytime you extend your limbs further away from your back, your low back takes the pressure, okay? So you're choosing, I'm not gonna tilt very far today. Eventually you turn yourself into a T. The body, leg are floating parallel to the floor. And this takes a lot of strengthening and toning here around the waist. So let's take one more big breath in. And a big breath out. Now the inhale floats you back up. Step your right foot down. Exhale your arms down and pause in Tadasana. Standing stillness. Just notice any sensations, feelings in the breath and the body. Other side, start with your hands on your hips. Compact those hips. Draw in nice and tightly, front body to back body. And just step your left foot slightly back behind you. So standing leg nice and strong. And I'm really gonna activate and squeeze through my left buttock, hamstring, those back muscles to lift the leg up. This is a lot of effort in and of itself. So we might just be playing with our balance here. The more I lift the leg up, the more that will start to tilt my pelvis, but the spine stays super long and your hips are staying nice and square. Shalabhasana, those arms beside the torso, palms facing in. Hands can come to heart. If you'd like to try to extend your arms forward and keep going further into Warrior 3, you're more than welcome to do that. Give me one more big breath in. Bigger exhale out, really hug those muscles to the bone. The inhale floats us all the way back up to extended mountain. Bring the foot back down. Exhale, arms down. Tadasana, pause here for a moment. Notice any changes. If you notice your heart rate increase, that's normal in that pose. That's a really powerful pose. Big breath in. And exhale, soften and relax. Okay, so let's come back to Tadasana. We might need to rearrange yourself on your mat because we are going to come down to our plank pose. But starting back in Tadasana, really feeling this length and leaning through the whole body, up through the crown of the head. The inhale reaches arms back up, extended mountain. The exhale, micro bend your knees, hinge from those hips back to your forward fold. Whatever that looks like for you today, Uttanasana. We'll hang out for just an extra moment here. Inhale, halfway lift. Our exhale will bring our hands back down to the ground and a big step back into our plank pose. So Shantalanasana, one of the best postures to practice to strengthen the whole wrapping area of the core and the waistline, upper body strength as well. We'll hold for just 30 seconds today. We can do anything for 30 seconds. And you're more than welcome to be in a kneeling version, but I really want you scooping the tail and pulling the belly in just as much. No collapsing in the neck and shoulders. If that's a little bit much on the wrist, you come down to your forearm plank and you can try to hover your body parallel. And I did start timing us already. Smile, press the whole earth away from you. Feeling a little shaky, that's totally normal. Squeeze and compact those hips, front body to back body. Give me one more big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale, hips can float up and back to down dog. If you're down on the ground, you can sit back into your child's pose. Choose a position to take a quick break. And then we're going to come back to our plank position, but this time we're going to come all the way down to our belly. So you'll lower yourself. You can move to a chaturanga if you want. Bring your hands underneath your forehead. Give your hips a little wiggle. So we're going to do that big shoulder stretch we've also been doing in my classes lately. It can feel quite different from one side to the next. Again, don't force or push it. So lying on our belly, you're going to stretch your right arm straight up from your shoulder, palm down. The left hand is going to press into the ground and I'm rolling onto my right side. And I'm going to try to stack my legs. Now, some of you might want to take a block or a pillow underneath your head, or you can try to let the head just relax towards the ground. Options, bend your left knee up towards the ceiling, planting your left foot behind the right leg. You might also be able to bring your right knee up so your legs are more like in bridge pose. You might be able to float the left arm up. At that point, you flip your right palm up and you try to grip all 10 fingers behind you in this big chest expansion. Support the head if needed. Another one of my favorite poses. I always say all my poses are my favorite. They're all great. Give me one more big breath in, stretch it out. And then we'll reverse out of the pose, same way you went into it. So if the knees are bent, you gotta re-extend. You're gonna roll back onto your belly. Reach both arms out overhead into prayer position and swim in your crocodile pose, Makarasana, to bring everything back in alignment and just stretch out those muscles. And then left arm out from the left shoulder, palm down. Right hand presses into the ground in front of the shoulder. And you're gonna roll onto your left side, stacking your legs or bending the right knee up towards the ceiling. Support the head if needed. And right arm might float up, flipping your palms around, and maybe interweaving all 10 fingers doesn't happen today. You can bring it back wherever you want. We're concentrating on stretching out that front of the left shoulder and chest. Big breath in. Unwind the body as you exhale. We'll end up back on our bellies. Extend both arms forward. The forehead can flop to the ground. Hands in prayer position, and you're swimming your arms forward, stretching out the side bodies, Makarasana, crocodile pose. And then slide your hands back underneath the shoulders, tuck your toes under, draw that inner belly in so that you can push up. Take your time, nice and easy. And from here, little baby cat cows. Start to let the muscles stretch. And then when you're ready, we'll sit back in our child's pose. You can take the more traditional version this time with the knees touching, sliding your hands all the way back to your feet, and allowing the head to drop to the ground from there, or whatever version you'd like to take. And then hands under the shoulders, tuck the chin, round it up, vertebra by vertebra. We'll rock over to either hip and bring our feet in front of us. So it's time to gradually work back down to our back. Safest way to come down, walk yourself down, find your back, wait for us there. You can happy baby, do whatever you want. Those of us that want to use our core to get there today, we'll plant the feet, allow those knees to open wider than the hips. And we reach our fingertips forward. So again, I'm drawing that low belly in. And I'm going to try to slowly come down one vertebra at a time. So I'm flattening out my low back, my sacrum, the lumbar spine, the thoracic, mid-back, the shoulder blades. Eventually the head touches down, arms reach overhead, stretch your legs out. Press your heels forward, spread your fingers, spread your toes. From there, with your arms overhead and your long body stretched, hook your thumbs together and pretend like you're trying to pull your arms apart. That should actually translate into around the shoulder girdle. Switch the cross of your thumbs and pretend like you're trying to pull your hands apart, but feel that translate more into your shoulders. Spread your toes, flex your feet, big breath in. Release the grip of your thumbs. Exhale, slide your elbows down in line with your shoulders. Backs of the hands flopping towards the floor in your cactus arms. Walk your feet in and open your feet as wide as your yoga mat, windshield wiper pose. Exhale, let your knees fall over to the right-hand side. Your left low back will arch up and you'll feel this stretch across the front of the left hip. It's a gentle twist as well. Inhale, the head and knees back to neutral. Exhale, knees to the left. The head can turn the opposite direction. And let the shoulders continue to sink towards the ground. Move with your breath side to side. And then let's all meet with our knees falling over to the right side, and we're going to hang out here for a moment. So I really just want you to let gravity stretch out the left waist, the front of that hip, the quad, sink that shoulder into the ground. If it is okay in your knees, you may pick up your right foot and place it on top of your left thigh, and the weight of that leg will take you deeper into the pose. Those of you self-adjusting, bring your right foot back down to the ground. Inhale, the head and the knees to neutral. If you feel like you need to make a little adjustment before other side, do so. Knees fall to the left. So my right side gently arching. I'm stretching out my whole right waist, the front of the right hip and the quad. Shoulders sinking down. You can place your left foot on top of the right thigh if you want to take it a little further. I'm just more energetically pushing my knees towards the ground using my body weight instead of using my foot. If your foot is on your thigh, place the foot back down to the ground. Inhale the head and those knees back up to center. Walk your feet together. Use your core to pull those knees back into your body and give your back a little rock side to side. Re-extend both legs up to the ceiling in our waterfall pose. Point and flex the feet. Pressing those thighs into those hands to help you straighten them out even more. Inhale, open those legs back up into Supta Konasana. Hands move to the inside for a deeper stretch. Roll your ankles out. And then exhale, squeeze those legs back up. Bring your feet back to the floor. So I want us to move now into Salamba Setu Bandhasana, or supported bridge pose, so that we can stretch out those abdominal muscles that we worked a little bit more today. So in order to do this pose, you will need some type of firm prop underneath your sacrum or your low back. So a yoga block would be great. You could start on its lowest setting. You could use a nice big book under there and even put a towel on top of the book so it's a little bit softer. You could use a firmer cushion like this. Or you could take a towel or blanket and fold it so it's in a nice firm like bolster fold like we do at the studio. So on our back with our feet in nice parallel alignment, shoulders tucked under, you'll squeeze your glutes, press down, lift your hips up, and slide your prop underneath the low back. It is down in the flatter part of your back, the sacrum. It's not in your lumbar spine. You will have a little bit of flesh hanging off that front part of your prop there. Now your knees should still be pointing straight towards your toes. Don't let them flare out. You can walk your shoulder blades under a little bit more, and your head and neck should stay in a nice neutral position. Arms can be down beside you. Maybe you can even tickle the backs of your heels here for a moment. So you are welcome just to stay here in this version. If you want to move into full or bridge, I usually recommend trying one leg at a time to make sure that's okay for your back. So you can slide your right heel towards the front of your yoga mat. Keep the right foot flexed, so now you'll be stretching more across the front of the abdominals and the hips. If that side feels good, you can slide your right foot back in and slide your left heel forward. The foot is to the floor, trying to create this bridge from your shoulder to your heel. And if you want to try the full version, both heels slide forward. And I'm actually trying to interweave my fingers together around my yoga block here. But you could also cactus your arms back up from your shoulders. And remember, the weight is moving into the meaty part of the shoulders. Your neck should still be in its natural curve away from the floor. And your throat should still be open. This is a gentle inversion, a heart slightly elevated. But wonderful counter pose to do for our sitting. And because we did contract a lot through those abdominals, it's a really nice way to stretch them out here. Let's take one more big breath in our pose. Now, next posture on our block or our prop if you feel like it's safe. Otherwise, you can squeeze and slide your prop out and revisit this pose again, flat on the floor. If you're still up on your yoga prop, you got to pull the belly in, and you're going to try to draw your knees in towards the body, and then re-extend them using the muscles back to waterfall pose. So this is going to put us into even a little bit more of an inversion with the hips elevated here. And I'm continuing to just let my arms cactus out from my shoulders, so I'm not putting any effort with the hands to hold my legs up I'm trying to use the muscles of the body. One more breath. And then bend those knees into the body. Bring one foot back down at a time, back down to the ground. Knees bent. Arms come back down beside you so that you can use the backs of your arms as well. Squeeze your glutes, lift up those hips just high enough to slide your prop out. Melt that low back down to the ground. You can take a moment again to just rock the knees side to side. Low belly draws in, hug those knees in, give your back a little stretch. Now compact the knees and the feet together, zip everything up. Reach your arms up from your sides, palms down. As you exhale, lower your knees to your right. Spinal twist. Slide a prop underneath that bottom leg if you want it. Ground your left shoulder back down, turn your head to the left, close the eyes, and just take a couple deep breaths here. And our nice big twist. If you want a little bit more, right hand on that left thigh. And then we'll bring the head and the knees back up to neutral. If you have to readjust before the other side, do so. Compact the knees, feet are parallel to each other. Exhale, lower them over to your left. Try to ground your right shoulder back down, head can turn to the right. Add a little self-adjustment with your left hand. Smooth, deep breaths, just wringing everything out here at the end of our practice. Inhale, head and knees come back up to center. Realign, readjust. Happy baby, taking a hold of the toes or the feet. Let your knees fall open nice and wide. We can rock it out here. Extend one leg out at a time, whatever feels good. And then let's all draw the knees back together. Try to wrap your arms over your shin bones, taking hold of opposite elbows or wrists. Float the nose to the knees and giving our bodies a great big loving hug. Filling ourselves up with gratitude that we were able to practice our yoga today. Nice deep breath in. And on the exhale, we get to let it go. So you can simply just flap yourself to the floor right where you're at. And if you would like to gather up goodies to support the back of the head, the legs, the back, eye coverings using your scarf, your washcloths, whatever you have, creating that darkness for the eyes, really help the mind and body to relax. So I'll give us all a moment here to position ourselves however we want with our props on the ground for our final relaxation. I will then verbally guide us through a little bit of relaxation, then give us several moments to just relax and quiet. And then we'll finish our practice together. I'll bring us out with my singing bowl and end there today. So take a moment, put just as much attention and detail and effort into this pose as we did with every other pose we just practiced today. You want to loosen up all the clothing, get yourself as comfortable as possible. Once you're in your comfortable position and you've gotten yourself adjusted, we'll start to just let the whole weight of the body sink down to the ground. Smooth out the skin across the forehead and brow. Soften the eyebrow center. Let the eyes sink into the sockets. Poof the cheeks. Wiggle out the jaw. With the lips softly touching, release the tongue and lower jaw to gravity. Relax the throat. Soften the heart and the chest. Feel the weight of the arms flop into the ground, relaxing all the way down into the wrists, the hands and fingertips. Soften the back of the heart and all the way down the spine, vertebra by vertebra. Relax the muscles around the waist. Soften the belly completely. Relax the larger muscles of the buttocks, the hips, the tops and backs of the thighs. Allow that relaxation to flow all the way down the legs, behind the knees, into the ankles, the feet, and the toes. Relax the whole body. Soften and relax the inside of the body. The breath becomes easy, quiet, and calm. And if the mind wanders or becomes distracted, gently bring it back to the peaceful breath, giving ourselves just one more moment to let go, to feel a sense of surrender, and sink into Shavasana. Gently coming back to our breath. And breathing life back into our body as we slowly wiggle and wake up our toes, the fingertips. Can rock the head side to side. Stretching those arms back overhead. Long body stretch for our right side. The whole left side. Whole body together, lengthening and stretching out. And the exhale, arms float down, feet walk in, hugging knees in to massage and rock the back. Right arm falls beside the head, rolling back over onto our right hand side in Supta Balasana, sleeping baby pose. Pausing for a moment, taking time to reflect on our practice today, maybe setting a positive intention or mantra to take with us into our day. And then turning the heart towards the ground, trying to keep the eyes soft or closed, press down. We'll bring our bodies back up and revisit any comfortable seated pose. Finishing with a couple nice deep breaths together. So sitting up nice and tall to the crown of the head, being mindful of our surroundings, re-extend the arms out beside the body, turning the palms up. Big breath in to float those arms all the way up to the ceiling and to gather up everything we need for the rest of our day. Turn the palms back out, bigger breath out, float the fingertips all the way back down to the ground and letting go of all that other junk that we don't need today. And let's all take one more big breath in as we reach those arms up and fill ourselves up. Palms touch. Exhale, hands to Anjali Mudra in front of the heart. Humbly bow head down to heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and anyone else that made it possible for us to practice our yoga today. Feel free in joining me in chanting the Om Shanti mantra if you like. Deep breath in. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat. And I thank each and every one of you for joining me today. It is my honor and pleasure to be able to practice yoga with you all from the comfort of our home.